Finance, finance, finance. A lot of you have asked me about finance and investing because I said I have started to think in terms of in my 30s, the things that I'm doing differently this time, being more mindful, being more conscious about investing and saving. One of the things that I was able to do in my 30s was speak to a financial planner. In the first place was to talk about how to gather all my old pensions and my different pension pots and put it into one. So the process of doing that. And from speaking to a financial planner, I was able to get some advice on how to financially plan for my life. So I'll talk you guys through all of that. So there's a typical budget rule, and most of you would have heard about the 50, 30, and 20 budget rule. This budgeting strategy is based on keeping 50% of your money into your fixed costs, so your needs, and then 30% of that into your wants, and then 20% of that into savings. But when I actually looked at this budgeting strategy, I thought to myself, actually, this isn't going to suit someone like me who has a lot of goals that I'm trying to achieve. So essentially, in looking at this budgeting strategy, 50, 30, 20, let's say you earn about £2,000 a month, equate that to, I don't know what that is a year, but that means 20%, I'm only going to be saving about £400, which means and actually, for a lot of people, £400 is even, for the average Brit, £400 is quite a lot of contribution into their savings, considering the cost of living in this day and age. But that's not how I approached my budgeting strategy from day one. So my budgeting strategy is based around my goals and where I want to be. And I'm just going to give a random hypothetical goal. Let's say in the next 10 years, I feel like I want to have bought a house with a 5-bedroom house with a swimming pool, blah, 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 outside of London and da, 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 da. I know that if I had that goal, then in terms of how I'm saving, I need to be thinking differently. Or if I have a goal such as I want to retire by X amount of years or at this age, then I need to be saving and investing this amount of money. So my goals inform my saving and budgeting strategy, if you get what I mean. So naturally, I know that if my take home pay is about £3,000 a month, then I need to be saving at least £1,000, okay? Or an equivalent, or £800. And then I would also strategize that in a year's time, I would have to have increased that pay somehow, okay? Whether that it be through 3% pay rises at my company, or through bonuses, or through after the space of 2 years getting a new job. It's just that has to be the roadmap to my success, right? Because I know where I'm going. So because of where I'm going, that would inform my behaviors and attitudes today. So I wouldn't, if I was on £3,000 a month, I wouldn't get accommodation or a place to stay or live that's well above, well above how I budget, if you get what I mean. I wouldn't get a property that's £1,500, leaving me with just £1,500 left. What I will do is I will try to find a property for rent that's only costing me, in terms of total cost, about £900. And then I would have like a £600 spend on wants, and wants is food, going out shopping, and then the rest of that, maybe like £1,000 or so, I should be able to save that. And then I would do it in percentages, even if it's similar to the 50-30 rule, 30-20 rule, but I would shift that a bit. Like, actually, I want my savings to match my savings costs to match my wants ratio. So I always do everything in percentages. So if my pay increases by £1,000, let's say my wants or my fixed costs cost me about 50% of my pay, or they cost 30% of my pay, and my savings is 30%. So my portfolio would always be in this 30, 40, 30 ratio. And then if my pay increases, I will just automatically, budget according to that 30, 40, 30. But then I also have a long-term plan to reduce my fixed costs, if you get what I mean, in order to achieve this goal. I hope that makes sense. So with that being said, that is how I would typically budget. And I have been able to successfully, with that budgeting strategy, which again, I think about how much I want to save first, then that is driven by my fixed costs, my wants and my needs. So if I'm not able to save this amount of money, then you're not going to be seeing me like going out, spending, living life. It's just not going to happen. So, and that has helped me in terms of buying my first property in London. And that is going to inform future massive plans. When I spoke to a financial planner, they kind of put me at rest in that the only big things that you'll be spending money on in your lifetime is your marriage, your first property, and maybe school fees, and a lot of people divorce. But those are like the big events in your life, which don't always happen. They don't happen regularly, right? They're once in a lifetime events. So those are the only things that you need to be worried about, that you need to have enough pots that you've saved for. Now, the next, in terms of saving and investing, now this is the one that majority of you are particularly interested in. Now, before I used to do a lot of savings, and by savings, I mean, I would just put money away into my savings account that's provided by my bank. I no longer do that because one, the interest rates are awfully low. I mean, I bank with Lloyds and now Monzo, well, both of them, and the interest rates on the two are glaringly clear. Monzo offers for their savings account, their monthly savers, there's a minimum spend that you have to put on it, and it's like 1%. At first they were given like 5.25%, but the volatility of those interest rates were driving me mad. I was like, hell no. So I only put like emergency fund cash in my bank account, and then the rest of it I would invest in the markets. And by investing in the markets, I have exposure to some cryptocurrency and mainly index funds and ETFs. And those I will probably go into detail in another video. An ETF or an index funds means that the portfolio of stocks that mirror the markets and a stock market essentially. So take the S&P 500, which is the Standards and Poor market of containing the top 500 companies in the US. An ETF, an S&P 500 ETF, just mirrors the portfolio, like the stocks in the S&P 500 essentially. And because historically the S&P 500 has been set to grow year on year and outperform every year, people have felt like it's a pretty secure market to put your money into. I wouldn't say that now that the market is a bit funny, but if you're an investment whiz, you know that markets go up and down, and the way the economy in the world sort of happens, although it feels down now due to like political uncertainty, that might set to rise sometime in the future. But because of the risks of things like that, people just tend to invest in a global ETF, which includes stocks from all around the world, so it has global exposure. But that's a bit more detail. I'll leave information in the description on videos that I watch regularly just to understand like what ETFs I should consider and from what providers as well. So I'll talk about that. Yeah. But in terms of saving and investing, I also have a strategy for saving and investing. In terms of emergency funds, I tend to use Monzo has really good offerings and savings pots that return or yield at least 4 to 5%. Again, I would only keep a bundle of cash that I I need it to be doing something. I need it to be returning money for me. I need it to be doing some hard work. It needs to be, returning some cash. And let's say the returns from those, I would use it to pay off some bills, or I would use it to book like a flight ticket somewhere. So naturally, my money's working for me, and I'm putting it into things that will help me in my everyday life. And then the rest of the money I will just invest in the market, if you get what I mean. I would only put a certain amount of money in my savings account so I'm able to access it more easily, and then the rest will just be in investments. Again, investing is very personal, and for me, it has been based on, like I said, my goals inform my financial strategy and my financial planning because of where I see myself, or I want to see myself in the future. That has to enable my attitudes today, and that has to drive a lot of my habits today. So you're not going to be seeing me popping bottles in the club when I'm trying to, in the next year or so, I feel like I need to be somewhere, or I'm hoping to have bought my house, or I'm hoping to have paid for this, or I'm hoping to have so that's my mindset anyway. And that's how I think when it comes to budgeting, saving and investing. If you guys want more videos like this, just do let me know. I just thought I'd cover a basic overview of that because I know a lot of you are interested in this topic. Let me know if you guys found this video useful and if you want me to film more videos like this. I'll see you in my next video.